Welcome back to another edition of Bro2Bro. I'm here with my brother Vince. Welcome back to the land.
Yes, sir.
We're going to get it started today. We were having some technical difficulties. Hopefully, everything is straight. We're going to dive deeper into life insurance today. We talked a little bit last time about the process of starting Vince Clark State Farm down in Kankakee. Today, we're just going to go deeper into some particular insurance products. And I'm going to pull up my little notes here, but we are going to start off on kind of a somber note, man. Recently, yesterday, very fresh wound to our nation, but there was a shooting, a killing, a whole mass shooting situation in a school once again in Texas. Name of the city, Uvalde, I want to say it's called. But up to this point, 21 folks have been killed, two teachers, 19 students, all fourth graders. So our condolences out to them, the families, and to be transparent, I've never even addressed something like this on a public platform. So it's kind of it being so fresh. It's kind of emotional. You know what I'm saying? We got kids being slaughtered by another kid. Kid was only 18 years old that committed this tragic incident. But as we start to talk about insurance and get deeper into life insurance conversations, I do think it's important to highlight, the availability and the necessity of life insurance, not only on yourself, but on your children and just the different types of education involved in that. So before we even get started into what we're going to talk about today, once again, the condolences to those families, to that school, to that city, to our nation as we mourn. This isn't the first incident of mass shooting. Even in the recent weeks, we had a supermarket shooting in Buffalo that targeted black folks. This last shooting at the school seemed to target the Latino community. And there was another shooting at a church in California that targeted the Asian community. So a lot of tragic situations going on. We definitely don't want to ignore those before we touch this very touchy and important topic of life insurance today. So yeah, that's the gist. Vince, you want to say anything on that? You just want to get into it?
Yeah, it's really just sad, honestly. Like I know you have kids and stuff. I have kids, and I just couldn't imagine just getting that phone call when I'm taking care of my business or at work or whatever, saying that there's an active shooter at my kid's school. So definitely condolences go out to that community, uh, and it's just a really sad situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So getting into the conversation of the day, we talked about the process of starting Vince Clark State Farm and what went into that, how you ended up landing in the city of Kankakee, etc. So what made you interested in insurance as a whole? You know what I'm saying? I know you talked about the enterprise influence that you had with a mentor, but was there
Mhm.
any instance or moment that got you interested specifically in insurance?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different things. For one, insurance is one of those things where insurance and money they pretty much go hand to hand at the end of the day. So whether that's car insurance, homeowners insurance, life insurance, health insurance, like it's all dealing with money. And I feel like from an educational standpoint, that's one area that I can just be a community resource to really just teach and help our families in this community specifically, just understand the bigger picture and how this stuff really works and how it can impact you and your families. So that is really for me the biggest reason, specifically why I wanted to come back to Kankakee as well. Just because when you deal with insurance, it's a lot of trust that goes into that too. So I'm from here. I know a lot of people from around here. A lot of people know who I am, and we can have those real conversations sitting right here in my office and just make sure that we put our people in the best position to win. So that's what I like about insurance the most.
On the real. And I know life insurance is talked about, and we'll get kind of deep into the different types of life insurance. But if you can, just highlight the different insurances outside of life and auto. Like, what else is out there? You know what I'm saying? People really only think about life, and of course, everybody got car insurance, but like, are those the only two common insurance products out there?
Yeah, you got your life insurance, you got your auto, you have another big one is renter's insurance. Like is very inexpensive, but a lot of people don't realize how much they need it until something happens. $10, $15 a month. a tragic situation happens, you get robbed, or uh, house fire happens and you're renting the property. A lot of people learn at that point that yeah, the landlord owns the house, but landlord doesn't have anything to do with your personal property inside the house. So if something happens and you don't have that policy in place, then that's on you to replace all your stuff because the landlord is not going to do it for you. I want to highlight too, quick shout out to disability insurance, especially for entrepreneurs. Something happens to you, get into a car accident, you can't work or whatever for an extended amount of time. The first people I think of with this is barbers. You get into a car accident, something happens, you can't cut hair for a while. Like, how do you replace your income and how do you take care of your family if you're not able to do your profession? So those are some of the two biggest products that we deal with on a daily basis that I feel like people need to definitely ask more questions about and needs to kind of know and learn a little bit more about those as well. So those are two things that I would definitely want to highlight.
For sure. Definitely major for the barbers. Anybody using their hands, anything like that, trades, all that. And then to get into it, I just want to talk about the differences between whole and term life. Now, I know that can be like do that for 5 hours. You know what I'm saying? Can you break down from your perspective the basic differences between a whole life policy and a term life policy?
Yeah, so we try to make this show pretty quick. I can go on for not go on. That sounds so bad, but I can definitely break these things down and have a whole like 30-minute conversation about it, right? But I would say the biggest difference that you want to think about when talking about whole and term is, term is really temporary insurance. It's for a short time. It's for a specific term. But it's also really important because we have things that are going on in our lives right now that we need to get taken care of if something were to happen to us prematurely, especially if you're young and you have a young family. So the best thing about term is you can buy a lot of coverage for a cheap price, just because the likelihood of something happening to you within that term is kind of low. So that's why it's so affordable for people. But if something does happen to you prematurely, you want to make sure that XYZ gets taken care of, whether it's a mortgage, your debt, making sure you replace your income so that your family can continue to live the same lifestyle. If you were unfortunately not able to be there to help provide that lifestyle physically. So that's really what term is really designed to do. And it's very important. Everybody needs that in their life to get things taken care of right now. Whole life insurance is a different beast in itself. The biggest thing that whole life, the biggest difference between whole life and term is the fact that this policy it never expires. Like it's guaranteed to pay out. So if something happens to us prematurely or we live to our full life expectancy, this whole life policy is going to be in place to get things taken care of. Most importantly, the final expenses. Final expenses are really what you want your whole life policy to take care of. You can get more than that. If you want to leave behind a legacy, maybe leave some money behind for your kids or a charitable organization, that's where you want to have those whole life policies in place to get those things taken care of as well.
On the real. And I have my own opinion kind of rolling through this, but what's from your perspective, I'll speak on my perspective. The question is, why do people fear insurance, right? And the simple answer
Okay.
is education. They don't know. But digging deeper into that, why would you say people like fear topics such as life insurance? From your experience when
I
talking to
think
people.
from my experience, it's a matter of people just not want to have a conversation about what it looks like after we're no longer here. I think that's the biggest thing for a lot of people that can be very uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, it's a conversation that needs to be had because you really got two options. If you could take care of it while you're living and just make sure everything is straight after you're no longer here, or you cannot do that and then it's just a complete mess because your family has to figure it out. They have to raise money. It becomes a burden on everybody that's left behind. So really, when you're getting into this life insurance conversation and buying these products, it's actually a very unselfish thing for you to do because you're really taking care of your family even when you're not here. If you're not willing to have a conversation or if you just don't want to have the conversation because you want to avoid the topic altogether, that's a really selfish thing to do, to be quite frank with you. Because you're just leaving your family, your loved ones. They already have to mourn. Now you're leaving them high and dry financially as well. On top of all of that, so it's a thing that we try not to think about. And I had these conversations with customers right here in my office, but it's something that we actually really do have to get taken care of.
Real talk, real talk. And it's just a matter of starting that conversation, being open to starting the conversation and then get into information. But you got to take that first step first
Right.
for it to
And I
that.
will say this too. I will say this too. They think it's such a painful and weird conversation to have, but it's really not. That's the way they feel before we get to talking. But once we get into the conversation, it's actually very informative, very educational. And then they definitely leave. Even if they don't get something that day, they definitely leave knowing a lot more than they did before they had the conversation with us here in my office. So it's if anything else, if nothing else, actually, it's really just learned experience to make sure you know what steps to take for you and your family.
Word to that. Word to that. Well, that's all we really have for today on this second part of Bro to Bro. Appreciate you coming through again, Vince. We're going to keep this coming for y'all. Again, if y'all know any of us or you guys know us personally, definitely hit us off with topics. We love to talk about what y'all want to hear. We're going to keep this going with good information, good energy. And once again, condolences to the families and the students out in Texas. Peace and blessings.